What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Panfro Games, and today I'm going to tell you how to improve your game in solo queue in Pokemon Unite. I have 275 solo queue ranked matches so far. I have tons of advice how to improve your game, how to win by yourself, and it is possible to climb to master rank if you do follow these tips and tricks. So the first one I will start off with is going into your settings and making sure that you have the best settings possible. And like I said, 60 FPS here is going to be the most important thing if you're on docked. If you had to do any of these controls, I recommend advanced controls, lowest remaining HP value, and then have off, on, standard, off, and then have press button, off, top left, single button, max your camera sensitivity, and aim assist off. I made another video that goes way more in depth than that, but I just want to do a quick rundown for people who've already seen it. That's just the best general control setup for this game. Now, before we even get into battle, we got to discuss items, and items are the deciding factor in a lot of these battles. And as a freemium player, as someone who has only bought the battle pass, I'm only been using item enhancers that I've purchased with the in-game currency in the shop to level up my items. As you can see, my Snorlax does not have level 20 items right now, which is not a great thing. However, I did focus on 3 items to get to level 20. This was a mistake to get this to 21. I recommend focusing on 3 items to get to level 20 first, and then focusing on other items. A level 20 item is way stronger than a level 10 item, and doing level 10 first for a bunch of items, which I did, is definitely not the proper way to do this, because your items are just so much weaker in terms of stats, and you're just going to be missing out on a lot. So just pick a couple Pokemon you really enjoy, or a role you really enjoy. Let's say you picked like a couple special attackers, so level up the special attacking items. It's like, let's say Muscle Band for like a physical attacker is great, Floatstone for a physical attacker, and Scope Lens for a physical attacker. Like, those are 3 great items. Also recommended, like a Buddy Barrier is another general good usable item, and Focus Band is another great general usable item. So pick a couple items that you're going to be using for a couple of your main characters and just focus on those, and then once you get to level 20, switch over to the other items. It will take a couple of weeks. I'm about 16 days into the game right now. However, this is a great way to optimize your items. And speaking of items, the best way to level up your items is by doing your battle pass and your events. So definitely do your dailies, definitely check out these other events. There's so many different events, even on the quick play map, so definitely check these out and try to do as many as possible. The battle pass will give you items even if you have just the free version. As you can see, you're getting item enhancers and even getting tickets. The paid version will have even more tickets and item enhancers, but it is not necessary. The battle pass is like $4. So if you are really into this game, I do recommend just picking up the battle pass at the very least, because you do get a bunch of helpful items. And if you're putting tons of time into this free game, I don't think there's a problem spending a little bit of money just to increase your experience, just by a little bit, personally. And now going into Pokemon. As I mentioned before, you want to really focus on a couple Pokemon to be your mains. So I currently only own about 9 Pokemon right here. And a lot you get for free. So you get Venusaur for free, you get Ninetales, a Slowbro, you can get Pikachu, Snorlax, or Charizard as your starter. Crustal's a free thing, Greninja you get free, Zeraora's free, Cinderace is free, and then these are like, you know, the ones that are rotating. So I only have 9 champions, but I'm in Ultra 3 at this moment, about to hit Masters. So as you can see, you only need a couple Pokemon to really get this high rank. So the best bet is, what I did is I mained Slowbro and Cinderace going into ranked play. If I didn't get Cinderace and we didn't have a defender, I would go Slowbro. If my team just didn't have a defender, period, I would go Slowbro. I recently picked up Snorlax because it was pretty cheap, 6,000 coins. So I'm learning some Snorlax right now. But like, I'm learning the defender role, and that was great because Crustle was also free. So if I wasn't able to pick up Slowbro, I could use Crustle in the match if we wanted to use 2 defenders. Same with Cinderace. Like, if I wanted to play the attacker role, okay, I can use Cinderace. He's one of the best characters in the game. But let's say my teammate picks Cinderace. Oh no. Well, I had a bunch of options with Greninja and Ninetales and Pikachu and Venusaur. So I had a bunch of other attacker options as well. So definitely, like, pick a couple Pokemon you want to learn, or a couple roles like a defender and attacker, and always have a backup for each one. So I recommend learning about 3 to 4 Pokemon, and you do get a bunch of Pokemon for free. Honestly, within about the 2-week span, I had a bunch of free Pokemon. So, and I highly do recommend, if you're starting the game for the first time, that your starter should either be Pikachu or Snorlax, as these are some of the 2 best Pokemon. Personally, I think Snorlax is the best Pokemon in the game, but you are going to be regulated to the defender role, but it's a very rewarding role in the sense that I think it's really fun. So definitely want to just learn a couple of roles or Pokemon and become a master at them. And then you can insta-lock them in your solo queue, and then you will be able to benefit your team more than usual. Back to items, because I did forget this. Going to our battle items. So you unlock these at your different trainer levels, and the most important ones is Fluffy Tail, and at level 11 you get Eject Button. Eject Button, if you're familiar with League of Legends, is like Flash. It lets you teleport immediately like a flash. So this has a 1-minute cooldown. It's awesome. You're going to use this a bunch in lane or surviving a team fight. Pretty much there is no reason for you not to run this unless you're a jungler. Then Fluffy Tail is really good. I mean, I've seen other people use different items, and they're good at what they do. However, Eject Button is just so universal and has saved my life so many times, and you dying could be the difference between winning or losing a game, especially during a Zapdos moment. So highly recommend picking up Eject Button and focusing on just using that item. And one of the most important things in this game is filling a role. So you can win or lose a game at match selection. And map selection or team selection, you can win or lose a game at team selection. And what I mean by, if you see someone who's like 3 people going top and like you were one of the people, you may need to be the bigger person and switch your role to like a defender, or go bottom, or go jungle and pick a speedster. You know, you try to adjust to your team. I do suggest insta-locking immediately with someone you want to play as. But if you just see a team comp that's just not going to work well and you foresee disaster, then switch. And if you see other people insta-lock something, that means they probably won't switch. So you definitely got to read your teammates and, you know, figure out the language, how quickly they lock something, or if they're still looking through different characters, or if they're being talkative in the pre-game menu by using the in-game notifications. So a lot of things to pay attention there. And having a good team comp is half the battle in Pokemon Unite. Definitely recommend picking high-rank characters like Cinderace or Slowbro, Lola Ninetales as an example. These are very good characters overall, or Snorlax for sure. So definitely just keep that in mind. And you always want to have 2 top, 1 middle in the jungle, and 2 bottom. Don't want to mess with that formula too much unless you're with your friends or teammates. But since this is solo queue, just keep it to the regular meta, because currently it's already hard enough, even in ultra rank, to get people just to stay in their lanes and not steal jungle and all that other crazy stuff. So it can be very annoying and stressful, but definitely something that at least you'll be in control of. And speaking of which, solo queue, the beauty of solo queue is you're 4 randoms who can mess you up, but you're facing 5 randoms who can also just be as bad. And the difference is you can control your actions. You know what to do. You know how to play the game. So you hopefully are smart enough to try to win the game, right? And obviously you are smart enough to win the game. So just keep that in mind, that you are facing 5 randoms of your 4 randoms, and you can change the dynamic of the game extremely, especially if you pick a Pokemon that is S-tier Pokemon, like a Gengar, Snorlax, Cinderace. Speaking of laning, so some of the very basic strats to laning, top and bottom, is 1, if you're going top and bottom, stay in top and bottom. You don't want to go into the jungle. You don't want to steal your jungler's creep unless, 1, they either let you by, if they, let's say, they immediately gank bot lane and you're in top lane, you can take that top jungle creep, because by the time they come back to you, that creep will respawn. So that's an okay scenario. But in general, you don't want to steal their creep, just because if you do, they'll be lower level, and like vice versa. You don't want, if you're a jungler, do not steal your top or bottom lane's minions when they're heading into a lane. Those A-Palms in lane is very important. Hitting that very first A-Palm at start is the worst thing you can do to your lane. You can actually put your whole team under a level and completely lose the top or bottom lanes if you do that. So highly recommend not doing that. And when you are heading to top or bottom lane as a laner, at top lane, you need to contest that core fish. So when you're heading top, you want to go towards the bottom side of that top lane and get your core fish, because that is a middle creep which is highly contested. Same with the Vespa Queen and the Combies, highly contested, and that will change the game of your lane. And if you have a level above someone in this game, it is massive, and that will be the game changing, deciding level. It really could be, honestly. Same with bot lane, except in bot lane you have Aldinos, and the Aldinos are on the top side of bottom lane, and there is one at the top bush that you'll be contesting. So make sure to head to those first. Don't head to the Apoms or the Aldinos on your safe side where the other team most likely won't steal it from you. Because if you go for that, that means the other team gets the free creep and they're 1 minion ahead of you, which means they could be 1 level ahead of you, 1 ability ahead of you, 1 evolution ahead of you, so on and so forth. And that's huge for ganking. Speaking of ganking, I highly recommend junglers gank either at level 4 or 5 as soon as possible, and pay attention to your laners calling out, hey, I need some help. If they're saying I need some help, they're losing lane, it's the jungler's job to help you win lane. And if a jungler can come in, get a kill, score some points, that's massive, then they can go help out the other lane. Now, speaking of the general timers here. So the map in Pokemon Unite has timers. It'll tell you 30 seconds before Zapdos, Dreadnought, and Rotom comes up. And this is part of game sense. If you see these timers, you'll know it is time for you to focus on the objectives and think of the future. So the Dreadnought timer shows up at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Same with the Rotom. And then Zapdos shows up at 2 minutes, and his timer is at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So you have a 30-second countdown that everyone can see. And if you're in top lane, and I highly do recommend, if you're playing in solo queue, go to top lane, because top laners need to rotate down to bot lane. And the best way to rotate down is be at your base, teleport back, and then run back from the base to bot lane. It's going to be faster than cutting all the way from top to bottom. Sometimes you have to do that, but it is faster to teleport back and then run through bot lane from the home base. The reason why you want to get Dreadnought is because Dreadnought gives global EXP to your entire team, and it's a lot of EXP, and it gives you a shield. So winning that first Dreadnought pretty much means your team is at the very least 1 level higher than the other team. Especially if you're already winning lane before, you just start snowballing. And usually if you win that Dreadnought, that usually means you'll be able to win that bottom lane goal. So this is a huge thing that will change the dynamic for the next few minutes of the game until the next Dreadnought contention. So if you are in top lane and you rotate down, that means you have the very least 3 members of your team fighting for that Dreadnought with the 2 bot laners. If you have a great jungler, they'll be down there too. So you have 4 people on your team fighting. That is 4 out of 5 people on your team fighting for this position. And even sometimes your other lane partner on top will come down with you, which is fine. Do not worry about losing top lane. Winning Dreadnought in bot lane is 100 times more important than winning top, and you can always go back to top after Dreadnought, and you can always do Rotom after Dreadnought, and even if the other team gets Rotom, it's not a big deal. Rotom is only really a big deal, in my opinion, when you get down to the 2 minute and 30-second mark when the double scoring occurs at the 2 minute mark, because Rotom will allow insta scoring, and insta scoring right at the 2 minute mark is pretty huge, especially for positioning with Zapdos, where it is a lot easier to sneak in a goal when you're closer to that 2 minute mark during Zapdos, because a lot of people will just be huddling up in the central area. Speaking of these markers on the map like Dreadnought and Rotom, definitely try to steal them if you can. If you pay attention to the markers on the top and bottom, you'll notice how they will move if someone is attacking them, or if they try, if there's someone's attacking them and they start moving towards the player, you can see that on the minimap, and that is it's like a stealth alert that it is happening, and you should probably try to head over there and steal it. A Pokemon example like Cinderace has a great ultimate, does tons of damage, and if you hit the ult onto the Dreadnought, you may be able to, 1, kill the Dreadnought and steal it, and 2, kill some of the enemies as well, and then you'll be in a great position to start fighting them, or just run away and start farming with your teammates. So there's another big thing. And also try to steal Zapdos if you can, if you're behind. This game has a huge swing if you can win Zapdos. Zapdos gives everyone on the team 20 points and does global damage to the opponents and insta scoring. So definitely, if you can't set up for Zapdos, at least try to steal it. The game is never over until the Zapdos has been taken. At the time the Zapdos is taken, most likely the game's over. A few times I've won after that, but well, one of the last things I want to say is save your Unite moves for Zapdos, because as I said, that is the most important objective in the game, besides Dreadnought. But let's say you lost Dreadnought, Zapdos becomes the most important objective in the game. It's your only way to come back and win, because the game is so oppressive and snowbally. And honestly, saving those first few goals for Zapdos is pretty good, especially if you can get a goal as low as possible before destroying it and then scoring your 100 points on it. It's going to be a huge win. That's going to be very hard to coordinate with your teammates, especially in solo queue, but that's just a reminder of you're going to score a vast majority of your points in the last 2 minutes if you do a Zapdos play. And if you are losing Zapdos, you do need to start Zapdos, and a smart other team will wait for you to start that Zapdos. So the best way to do it is get into a team fight and destroy them, or pick off 1 or 2 of the enemies, then do Zapdos, and then turn on them when they approach you on Zapdos. And if you're the winning team in solo queue, you don't need to necessarily do Zapdos, you just need to defend Zapdos and wait for the other team to start it. Or if you were already in an aggressive position, keep pushing towers, waste as much time as possible, and get them as desperate as possible. And once they're desperate, they'll have to go for Zapdos, and then when they're desperate, they're not thinking well, they're not going to be playing their best, and then you can take advantage of that situation and win the game. So that's incredibly important. And last but not least, don't tilt. Tilting is the worst thing you can do in the game. I do it all the time, but when you're tilting, you become a more toxic person, and you're just going to start inting and throwing yourself and feeding. Try to stay calm. The game is not over until Zapdos, so just keep playing until you get to that Zapdos and do your best. Well, guys, I hope this long rant of how to win in solo queue was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel. I'll catch you guys next time, and peace out.